At just 17, Lars Westra speaks with the clarity of someone who spent a lifetime being underestimated. At 12, he stood before a room full of adults to ask them to take children seriously, and was told to go play football. Instead, he chose to play a different game, one that challenges the rules of who gets to speak and who gets to be heard, with gratitude not for what he's been given, but for what he's discovered, which is the power of persistence, perspective, and voice. Lars reminds us that change doesn't wait for permission. It begins the moment we decide to listen.
Thank you so much, Lars Westra, for joining me here in AwareNow to share this space and share your story. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's an honor to be.
Well, let's get started this way. Let's go back a bit. Let's go back to the time when you were 12, a child standing in a room full of adults, and a politician dismissed your words and said you were being used. For people unfamiliar with this part of your story, would you mind to share what happened that day?
Of course. Well, I was already engaging in my activities for, I think, 3 years. I was 12 at the time. And I was thinking from the vision of children, thinking with projects that normally only adults decide about. Because I thought, well, the vision of children is really different and maybe sometimes even better. So I stepped up to my provincial government parliament. I don't know the exact name in English, but it was like the parliament of my province. And I gave a speech and I said, you need to listen more to children. You need to act now to combat climate change. And you need to ensure that every child gets the same opportunities to develop themselves. And I got a lot of positive reactions afterwards from politicians. But then there was one parliamentarian indeed, and she said that I was abused by others. I was being put there in a political game about climate change, that it wasn't my own opinion. And I cite, you have to play football and chase the girls and leave it up to the adults to decide what to do now. Well, maybe you can imagine I was 12 years old. I think I was 1 meter 40 or something, really small. The microphone was too high for me. And it was a very small room with a lot of adults, important people from that provincial parliament, but also cameras and journalists. And then she said this to me. I was really, really flabbergasted. And I think on the one hand, I was like, oh no, we have really a long way to go to make sure that the voices of children are graded equally, so on the same level as those of adults.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I was like feeling more empowered. Maybe it sounds strange, but I'm feeling more empowered because I thought I cannot trust parliamentarians, politicians like her to take decisions in my interests. So I need to step up. I need to step up on behalf of young people to make sure we get an actual seat at the table. And I think that was where this part of my activism started.
That's amazing. So looking back then now, how did that moment shape the way you see power, prejudice, and what it really means to be heard?
That's a very good question. I think a bit of what I just said, it showed me that we had a long way to go, but also how important it was. But also there were a few things happening then that really changed my way of seeing things. I think maybe that's the right way to say it. So after this, it was, of course, now it was only this politician. I was, well, it's a bit weird, but okay, let's move on. The next morning, and I was just eating my breakfast before going to school, and I got a call, and hey, it's Lars. And I was live in a radio show. So that was when I realized, oh wow, this really blew up, because I was on every news feed, in every newspaper, and every news outlet posted about this. And well, I was just, oh nice, they're posting about what I had to say. But in the end, they only posted about this politician saying that I was abused and had to play football. And also we got a lot of hate, even threats, me and my family, of people thinking that it wasn't my opinion. People couldn't believe that a 12-year-old had his own concerns about the world and his own ideas about how to improve the world. And that's something I see more often, especially after that moment I started seeing it. that if young people stand up, speak up for the things they believe in.
Yeah.
In general, a lot of people try to find other reasons why they say it. So not because it's their own concern, not because it's their own vision, but for example, their parents made them say it, or they were indoctrinated at school, or I don't know, someone around them said it. And on the other side, um, um, what's happening all the time is that we don't take them seriously, and we don't argue with them on what they're actually saying. Because if this politician said to me, I don't agree with you because I think we should spend the money somewhere else instead of on climate change, then we could have had a discussion. Now, the only thing she said was, you're young, so I don't talk with you. And that's something that happens a lot. So people don't want to talk with young people because they don't believe their views, their problems, their ideas are real, are authentic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well,
they are.
but they are, absolutely right. And so you did a really incredible, might I say, phenomenal TEDx talk,
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
where you make a powerful case that children's lack of maturity is actually a superpower of sorts. Their ability to think beyond the boxes that adults have built. What's something adults could learn from the way children see the world if they only truly listened? I would just love for you to talk about that superpower of sorts.
Yes. Well, I think that's really hard to learn because, as I also said in my TED talk, I think children can look at opportunities, can look for opportunities, where adults who are sometimes, and that's not to be mean or something, but it's reality. I'm also experiencing it myself now. I'm getting towards being an adult. That you have so much experience, that you think, okay, let's do it like this because we always did it like this.
Yeah.
That you are sort of rusted or locked in old traditions and methods. While children are looking to the world with a much more open, unprejudiced view, with the idea of why. Why does this happen like it happens? Can we improve this? Why don't we do this? And I think this, well, some might call it being naive. I think it's more being idealistic or a bit naive, but maybe that's not a bad thing. I think that's their superpower, to really think outside the box.
Yeah.
And if you work together with like the outside of the box thinking of children and more the experienced old traditions and methods thinking of adults, if you work together, I think then you can accomplish the most beautiful things.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, the ultimate solution should end up somewhere in the box because there is a framework. But maybe you first have to go outside of the box to get in the box in a different way. And I think by working together, you can both use the power of children being idealistic, coming up with original ideas, and the experience of adults and how to actually make this practical and make this reachable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so to that point, can you share, Lars, an example of adults who got it right, who listened, not to respond, but to learn? Like, can you share an example that way?
Of course. Well, as I said, I started when I was 9. With this vision, like children think in a different way, and if we combine those manners of thinking, we can achieve the most beautiful things. That was like the business plan I had when I started my own business. Now it's an organization because I noticed that there's a long way to go also in politics, and that it's something to advocate for. But I did a lot of projects thinking from the vision of children, also together with our children, when adults were talking about our generation, about making things for children. For example, there was an organization who was trying to cheer children up who were in a hospital. So they were doing like short plays or being a clown, and that's a kind of things to cheer them up because they were in hospital for a long time. And they came to me and they said, Lars, we don't have enough people to go to all children who are in hospital. So what we want to do, we want to build a VR world. So in the virtual reality with these classes, that you really can look around even if there's no one there, and that we will make a video and then we'll reach them as well. and we've made a video. Can you take a look? And what I did, and I showed it to other children as well, from the vision of children, I said, well, of course, you're making something for children, then of course, it makes sense to also ask children what they think about it.
Yeah.
And I watched it and I made a whole list. I was like, this is too long and this is boring and this is nice, emphasize this more, and maybe you can do this as well. And I did this with a lot of other children. And I think that's how it is supposed to be. That if you're doing something for children, you ask children as well to give their opinion, their feedback, not only because, of course, according to me, it makes sense, but also because your product or your service or your project aligns much better with the interests and the needs of children. And I think that's beneficial for everyone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just makes really good sense. And I think that we're hearing that more. Also in the disability community and other communities where it's like nothing for us without us, right? Like you need to be part of the process, not a box to check at the end of the project. So one more question I had for you here today. If every child around the world suddenly had a microphone and every single adult had to listen, what would you want that first global message from your generation to be, Lars?
Well, that's almost a utopian situation, but I'm starting to smile already when I think about it. I think indeed that is what we should have in the end, but not really that adults are forced to listen. I think in the ideal world, they understand why they should listen. Because if you really open up, then you can see, well, those ideas might not be better, but if we work together, 1 + 1 can get to 3. Maybe to put it that way.
Yeah.
And I think it is a hard question what you're asking, what should children say? Because children and youth are not like a homogeneous group in which every child has the same opinion, just like it isn't with adults.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the good thing. And what I'm trying to do, because I've worked in this field a long time, I have some positions as well in NGOs, also in international politics now, in which I get an actual seat at the table. The seat at the table I advocated for more than 9 years now. And what I'm trying to do is to look beyond my own opinion and actually represent youth, represent children, because I also see how privileged I am. So what I'm trying to do is represent the voices and the opinions of young people, but I also see how hard it is because those opinions differ like a lot. So what I'm trying to do is to find common ground.
Yeah.
And we all want a safe future for ourselves, a healthy future, a fair future for ourselves, for our children. We all want a voice. We all want peace. We all want to be included in peace building processes, for example. So those are the things that I am advocating for, and I am trying to do that at the best of my ability on behalf of all youth and all children in the world, because I think we deserve a seat at the table. And I think we are ready for it. We're standing on the sidelines waiting to be heard. And I think the time has come that we're actually really be heard.
Right. And I love how you bring up that point too. Not that adults are forced to listen, but that they're curious to listen, that they want to listen. Well, I could listen to you all day long, Lars, because I think what you're saying is so brilliant and just makes absolute sense. Thank you for the work that you've done and the work that you continue to do. And thank you for helping all of us become a bit more aware now. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
My goodness, you are such a gem. You are a treasure.
Wow, thank you so much.